What up, motherfucks? It's your boy, the Hater, and I wanted to do a video talking about good old Vince McMahon. It should be noted, right, that everything that happened with Vince McMahon, as of now, is still just an allegation, right? And while I can obviously never suggest that I know or will ever know what it's like to be Vince McMahon, nobody will ever know that other than Vince McMahon. I do feel bad for Vince McMahon because at the end of the day, for better or for worse, the deals that he made wound up with him losing control of his company, even though what he did um, is more of a personal matter. Now, granted, he did commingle the funds of the WWE in paying this woman with WWE funds, and if you're a stock owner, you're gonna be like, what the fuck? Like, don't pay her with my money, motherfucker, right? But that's neither here nor there. The truth is that you could say whatever you want, right? But we have wrestling today because of Vince McMahon. And in life, people will often shit on you, and people will even more frequently shit on successful people, right? It's just a part of life. Nowadays people shit on people that have died, that have been dead for like 1,000 years. Be like, oh, George Washington owned slaves. Like, okay, great, he did, and that's not good. But George Washington was also like a badass motherfucker, right? Like, this is a personal favorite of the haters, right? A lot of people say things like, well, the founding fathers were old white men. They were not, motherfucks. They were definitely white. They were definitely men, but they were not old. They were like 29 and 30, motherfucks. Like James Madison was like in his 30s, in his early 30s, when he wrote the Constitution. You know what I mean? The Marquis de Lafayette, motherfucks, who led troops both against England from America and from France, was like 19 when he started his military career. So if that doesn't make you feel like a piece of shit, I don't know what will. Because these motherfuckers were accomplishing things by their early 30s that most of us can't even understand today. Like, you give someone the Constitution, they can't understand it. They're like, I don't know what does this word mean. I don't get it, right? James Madison wrote that shit with a fucking feather while wearing a wig, a bow in his hair, and stockings, cucks. But that's not here nor there. Great men, and great women, of course, always get shat on, right? And the truth is, this is exactly what's happening with Vince McMahon. But this is not new. This is not something that happened after the allegations, right? This all happened when that douchebag cocksucker CM Punk did the pipe bomb promo. Now, I know that's a promo. It is what it is, but I don't think anybody could have seen where that promo would take wrestling, right? Into the shithole that it is today. So, in that promo, after that promo, I should say, it became popular to say things like, wrestling's only going to get good again when Vince is dead or Vince is gone. Well, it's been several months, and we obviously all know that everyone that said that was completely retarded because the opposite has happened. Wrestling has gotten worse than it always has been, right? At least Vince had the vision of Roman Reigns, whereas Triple H has the vision of Seth Rollins and Obafemi. I mean, this is what Triple H is pushing, right? Obafemi on one hand, Seth Rollins on the other, Cucky Rhodes over here. Nobody really gives a shit about any of these guys. The ratings will continue to fall, and WWE will increasingly be forced to grow their revenue by just injecting more and more commercials, right? So the next time we see Tozawa, he'll be doing the ruffle shuffle with a Slim Jim stuck up his ass so they can get double the revenue from that 5 minutes of commercial-free TV that they give you, right? So that's the truth. Now, insofar as Vince McMahon goes, I think anybody that doesn't agree with this is disingenuous. Obviously, without Vince, there is no wrestling, right? It's that simple. Wrestling does not exist without people like Vince McMahon, and specifically, it does not exist without Vince McMahon himself, right? Vince McMahon has ran the ball for thousands of yards at this point. And the truth is that every couple of years, WWE gets a few new fans, right? Something happens and a few new fans come around, right? I guess Dragon Ball, the remake of Dragon Ball, ended, and a bunch of anime nerds decided to start watching wrestling around WrestleMania, I don't know, 29, 28, around then. People started watching, a lot of nerds started watching wrestling, right? And wrestling, I mean, since the 90s, it's been going downhill, but wrestling went from this cool, like, big brother product, right? Like, oh, my big brother likes this wrestler, so I do too. It went from that to something that is liked by only men and basically only fat men, right? Let's be real, right? The vast majority of wrestling fans are out of shape losers who probably don't have a job, who probably dropped out of college. Like, we all know those people. They're like, I dropped out of college because I'm too smart for college. Let's be real. You dropped out of college because you probably are fat and you think you're smarter than you are, but the reality is you're not that smart. Check my aforementioned point. James Madison went to college, and James Madison wrote the Constitution. If you read it, you won't understand half of it, right? That's how smart you are. But these people all gravitated to like My Little Pony as well as fucking wrestling, right? And they don't know anything about wrestling. You know, bless their hearts. They're stupid motherfucks. They don't know anything about wrestling. So they decided that it was popular to listen to Dave Meltzer, and the world started to change around the rest of us, right? The popular opinion started becoming that Vince McMahon is out of touch. Now, this is like one of the dumbest, like, if someone tells you Vince McMahon is out of touch, like, there's only two possible answers. That person is just a new wrestling fan, and they're a complete sheep, which is pretty bad. They're the kind of person that if they were around 1942 Germany, they'd be like, oh, what Holocaust? I don't see anything happening. They'd be pretending that everything is fine and dandy. So those people, you can't trust them. They're never going to stand up for what's right. Or, perhaps even worse, these people are just so stupid, right, that they really believe that Vince McMahon is out of touch, right? Now, Vince McMahon is wrestling, motherfucks. Everything that we know and love from wrestling comes from Vince's mind, right? Wrestling is lowbrow. Wrestling is the working class form of entertainment. Now, yes, there are, of course, smart people. That's the beauty of wrestling. Like Vince McMahon said during the remember that time when he was giving away $1 million, like every Raw, right? When Vince McMahon said that, he said wrestling is Americana. Wrestling is everybody in America, right? You can be rich, you can be poor, you can be white, you can be black, you can be an immigrant, you can be a native, you can be anything, and you can like wrestling because wrestling is something for everybody. But fundamentally, wrestling is reserved for black and white audiences of like probably working class and lower, from the trailer parks or the ghettos. That's who wrestling is geared towards, more so from the trailer parks, right? From the South. So the humor that these people like, the working class blue collar humor, is what wrestling is built on. Wrestling is not built on Xavier Woods coming out dressed as Vegeta, right? Like, nobody in Alabama knows what the fuck that means, cucks. You know what I'm saying? So that's not what wrestling is. It's not a bunch of weirdos who play video games like Ricochet or fucking TJP, whose character is, oh, my Nintendo 64 broke and Brian Kendrick fixed it for me. Like, what are you, retarded? You like another man came to fix your N64? That's fucking weird, by the way. But anyways, it's neither here nor there. The point is what the point is. And the point in this case is that these neckbeards made it popular to hate Vince McMahon. And in my opinion, that's unacceptable, right? Because Vince McMahon made wrestling. These people don't understand. They really believe that like someone like CM Punk and Tyson Kidd would be better off for the company than Vince McMahon, right? Now look at CM Punk, fucking pussy ass hypocrite, right? He said in the so-called shoot promo, I know that it's not a shoot, but he does believe those things, or at least he did, right? He said, when Vince is gone, it doesn't matter because his doofus son-in-law is gonna run the company. And guess what happened? The doofus son-in-law called and told CM Punk, hey, we need you. We want to come in, and he came, right? So he is a hypocrite. He does not stand for the people. Ironically, motherfucks, the wrestling entity that stands the most for the people is Vince McMahon. He really understood what it took to make wrestling big worldwide. Think about how in touch you have to be to take a fake sport and make it big worldwide. The NFL has problems expanding in Europe and in Asia because people in Europe and Asia, I'm going to say it like it is, people in Europe think that football is gay. It's just that. It's really just that. They don't understand why there's a sport in America where men just jump on top of each other and basically hump each other. They don't get it. It's not like that in their culture, right? This is especially true for like Eastern Europe and Southern Europe, right? Where people are still very homophobic and things like that. They're like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, it's a bunch of men just, it looks like they have an excuse to just hump each other. They wear these tight pants, right? And they wear big shoulder pads. And then after they're done with a play, they take a break and slap each other on the ass. People are like, this is straight up gay. Like, I have no interest in watching this, right? So NFL has had issues expanding in Europe, right? It's getting better now, but they've had a problem with that. WWE hasn't, motherfucks. Vince McMahon is so in touch that he took a fake sport and made it a global phenomenon. And these dumb fucks who have been watching wrestling for like 4 years, they're like, well, Vince McMahon didn't push Tyler Bate, so he must be out of touch. I mean, I think Tyler Bate is a better wrestler than Roman Reigns, so why did he do what I wanted? He must be out of touch. These are the people that have ruined wrestling. Vince McMahon did the best he could with the bullshit regulations that were put on him. And the reality is that he kept wrestling alive and turned himself into a billionaire. So as far as I'm concerned, the only time that I'm going to listen to someone tell me who is and is not out of touch is if they've made over $5 billion being in touch. I don't think anybody has. I don't think anybody in the history of the world has made more money from their ability to be in touch than Vince McMahon. So shout out to Vince for doing that. If he did all the things that he's accused of, he's a piece of shit. But I'm going to reserve my judgment until I see the fucking facts, until I see this go to trial, which it never will go to trial. So with that being said, in my opinion, there's a rumor that Vince McMahon is starting his own company. I really hope he does. I know it's like very far-fetched. It's like less than 1%. But if he does, that'll make me very happy because it would really show people that Vince is that dude, motherfuckers. With that being said, go fuck yourselves.